Former U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama, actress Kerry Washington, and Nigerian novelist Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie have in common? They all have confessed to having suffered depression. Considered the world-leading cause of disability by the World Health Organization, depression affects 300 million people around the world. Out of the 100 million people who suffer from depression in Africa, 66 million are women. Despite the staggering numbers, the topic is rarely discussed on the continent. Welcome to Our Voices. My name is Anastasie Tudiesh, and like each week, I am joined by my amazing co-hosts, Oriani Tangishaka and Simonish Yekoye.
Hello, everyone.
How are you, ladies?
Good. How are you?
Good, very good. So this is a safe space, okay? Non-judgmental. Has any of you or your loved ones ever suffered from depression? And if so, how did you handle it? Oriane?
Yes, and I'm so excited about this topic, ladies. I mean, I hear the word being thrown around all the time. I don't think I have been depressed, but at the same time, I'm not sure how exactly to define depression in order for me to know if I've been through it or not. So I'm excited about the topic.
Simonish?
I think I feel the same way. I've never been depressed, or I have never been diagnosed, I think that's the proper way to put it, with depression. But again, I also ask, what exactly is depression, you know? I feel like we all, or people at some point in their life, go through sadness, anxiety, or some sorts of loss. But what level of that amounts to the level of depression, I think is the right question. So what about you?
Well, I can recall one moment where I felt severely depressed. I was living in Congo, and I had been robbed at gunpoint by 3 men, mind you, policemen.
Wow.
And the following week, I recognized them.
Oh.
But for reasons too long to explain here, I could not denounce them. I could not call them out. I could not work anymore. For the first time in my life, for 1 month, I couldn't do anything. I would cry, sob, I was paralyzed. So yes, I was depressed.
Were you properly diagnosed?
Well, now that you're asking, not exactly, but that was me self-diagnosing. So it's interesting that we talk about that too. Thank you for joining us on Our Voices. If, like my co-hosts and I, you struggle to clearly define depression, this show is for you. Today, we want to learn how to identify the symptoms for depression, but also understand what causes it, and most importantly, the solutions to overcome it.
Well, and to help us understanding, who better than a doctor in psychology? Dr. Mathero Michelle Nkhalamba, clinical psychologist, joins us live via Skype from Zamba, Malawi. Dr. Nkhalamba, thank you so much for joining Our Voices. Nkhalamba.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Nkhalamba. So, I mean,
I'm glad to be here.
Welcome to Our Voices for sure.
Definitely, welcome to Our Voices. And as you heard us saying, we all have some sort of confusion on what depression is. So we all want to understand what that is. But before you give us the clinical definition, Dr. Nkhalamba, let's hear what Lynette Muluka, Joan Akini, and Everlyn Mbowa, all 3 residents of Nairobi, Kenya, had to say about it, and we will come back to you.
Depression is when people's mind are full of things they cannot understand or even solve on their own. Don't know a particular person because I cannot mention somebody. There are those who are depressed and they don't know they are depressed. They maybe feel it's just an upload of the life that they are going through, but actually they are in depression, but they don't know unless they be diagnosed or they go to the hospital to the right person to be diagnosed with.
The word depression, as I can understand it, is a state of being too much stressed in life that leads to, as in, you have so many things troubling your mind. There's too much that leads to depressions. A friend of mine, and he did get treatment, but at a very late stage.
Depression is normally when someone is not in a position to function normally. So for example, I can not be able to do my normal things, but I'm in denial. I've started thinking about so many things. So I have a friend who went through depression, and for her, she looked through someone and she helped him out to come out of it, because when she was starting to become suicidal and something like that. Yeah. Yeah, she was successful. We also managed to have that person. Now we are continuing to support him to ensure that what he was going through that was leading him to depression is reduced. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nkhalamba. We all heard the ladies in Nairobi. So what are your thoughts on the definition of depression? How can we identify someone is depressed?
First of all, it was quite interesting listening to what the women think about depression, and everything they said is true. Feeling overwhelmed and even feelings of wanting to harm oneself, having lots of thoughts that you don't have any clarity about. So depression is a word that we commonly use when we're feeling sad or low, but the clinical definition means that you've had a low mood for over 2 weeks, and that low mood makes you feel unmotivated, makes you feel sad, makes you have low energy. So physically, you also experience symptoms. So it's the low energy. Some people lose sleep, or some people sleep a lot. Some people don't feel like eating. So the basic day-to-day functioning becomes a task. So as one of the hosts mentioned, after the experience with the robbery, she could not even work. So that's what depression does. And
so I was depressed.
In extreme cases, as one of the ladies mentioned, you feel suicidal, and some people even go up to the extent of committing suicide if they don't get the help that they need. And it does affect all areas of your life, relationships. If you're a caregiver, you won't be able to give care properly. If you're at work, you won't be able to be productive. So your quality of life really is affected. So that's the clinical definition of depression, that you really feel something is wrong.
Mm-hmm. Maybe as a follow-up to that, why do we have it higher in female than male? Why do we have more women depressed, especially in the African continent?
Yes. So depression does affect everyone, males and females. But first, clinically, women are thought to report more about their feelings, about the emotions. So I think that's why the numbers are also high. But if you look at the causes of depression themselves, they're caused by a number of factors, really, not just one factor. There are biological factors. Genetically, some people are predisposed to suffer from depression. Hormones, especially for us females, when you're pregnant, during menopause. And also there are psychological factors that cause depression, the way we think or cope. But it is very high in women because we have more stressful factors in our life. And if you have a lot of stresses or risks, this exacerbates your predisposition to suffer from depression. And what are these factors? What are these stresses?
I definitely agree that they do experience a lot more stress. But just briefly, what is it not? What is it not depression? Some people can misdiagnose themselves.
Exactly. Depression is not being worried if the outfit that was being made hasn't been done in time. We were just saying, one of the ladies was saying how my outfit looks good. I tell you, I was panicking 2 days ago to have this outfit made. I wasn't depressed. I was just panicking. Or I would quote, Kim Kardashian in one of her episodes. She lost an earring when she was swimming on a holiday.
Well,
and
doctor, it was a diamond earring.
Yes.
It was a diamond earring too.
Well, no one died. So she started being hysterical. That's not depression. So yeah, to answer your question, we do have day-to-day challenges. You're taking care of kids, you're going to work. And if you feel a bit low for that day or 2 days, that's not depression. But as I mentioned, it's a prolonged state of low mood, sadness, lack of motivation, feeling hopeless in general about life.
Well, thank you for that precise and thorough definition, Dr. Nkhalamba. You have listed one of the causes that you have not listed is conflicts. And it can be one of the causes for depression, depression for women. Case in point, the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, my country, where about 800,000 people live in refugee camps near the city of Goma. Medical officials working there say many are suffering from mental health issues. VOA's Zanem Neti Zaidi reports.
At Chabindu camp outside Goma, Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF, has set up tents where dozens of displaced persons are being processed. They can also participate in listening sessions with psychologists. Rose has been receiving care for depression. She blames the war for her mental state, but says her journey to recovery has begun.
When someone flees war, they are very disturbed, and that was my case too. But here we have been taught how to forget everything we've left behind and how to calm our thoughts.
Rose is not alone. According to MSF, living in camps around Goma is a challenging environment for the hundreds of thousands of displaced people, especially women. Every day, medical staff say about 70 female survivors of sexual assault visit the 6 MSF health facilities in camps near Goma. Faustin Hakizimana is the head of Bulengo camp. He says the need for psychosocial support is more urgent than ever.
When we looked into the real problem, we found out that many have been disturbed by the horrors of war and others have been raped when they look for wood in the forests, which is why so many women here suffer of mental illness.
Gerlas Mulekia, a clinical psychologist with Médecins Sans Frontières at the Lushagala camp, says more help is needed.
Most of the people we see show signs of anxiety and post-traumatic problems. We run 3 group sessions a day, and each group is made up of 10 people, for a total of 30 people a day. If it goes on like this, we'll need to expand the activities to try and meet as many of the needs as possible.
Psychosocial care is available to both genders, but officials say most of the people taking advantage of the services are women whose mental health challenges are impacting their ability to care for their children. Zanem Neti Zaidi, VOA News, Goma.
Asante sana Zanem for this excellent report. Dr. Nkhalamba, tell us, let's come back to you. So tell us more about how you work with vulnerable groups or individuals seeking help for mental health challenges.
Yeah. Also, I just can't stop but comment on the video that we saw. That's really true. The violence causes, profound psychological effects on women, and I have worked with women who've been traumatized. So for me, if you're working with vulnerable groups, you have to understand that they've been through enormous trauma. So whatever interventions that you're giving them should be trauma-informed, and that means that you shouldn't re-traumatize them if they've experienced war, like in the case that we're just watching. Your methods should not be talking about violence. You should make sure that you're tailoring those interventions sensitive to the trauma they've already been through. Some communities have experienced historical trauma. So first of all, you understand what the population has been through, and also be culturally sensitive, because it's not a copy and paste way of working with individuals. So the bulk of my work in helping those who've experienced trauma or mental health challenges is psychoeducation, which simply means giving them the mental health literacy, or making them understand what mental health issues they're grappling with. So you explain to them what depression is or what trauma is, so that it ceases to be something scary. They have to understand what they're experiencing.
Dr. Nkhalamba, before we go out, we really want to just go right into maybe some of the symptoms, severe symptoms that really was showcased that someone has depression.
So the severe symptoms, obviously, if on a day-to-day basis you're talking to someone and they feel like they don't want to continue with what they were interested in before. So if someone likes going for walks. They stop doing what interests them. And in us women, you look at how they're caring for example, their children, find that they can't do the basic things like cooking or taking care of children, just losing interest or pleasure in what they normally like doing. As I mentioned, changes in appetite, gaining weight, or even losing weight. So it's just knowing the person and if they're doing things that are out of their character, that are not typical of how you've known them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michelle Mathero Nkhalamba. Thank you for answering our questions. Dr. Nkhalamba was with us live from Zamba, Malawi, where she's a clinical psychologist. Thank you for watching Our Voices. After the break, we will continue learning more about depression, this time from the kitchen. Science-backed studies have shown that our gut health could be linked with our mental health. For some insights, we will be joined by a naturopathic practitioner and nutritionist. Before that, what about you? What is your experience with depression? How is it addressed in your community? Let us know. We want to hear from you via Facebook, Instagram, and X.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
Health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Lina Khmudu, in Washington every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
Welcome back. You're watching Our Voices. Today we're trying to better understand depression and what we can do to prevent it. Some scientists suggest to start in our kitchen. For decades, researchers have explored the mind-gut relationship and have found that the healthier the gut is, the healthier the mind is. To get a better grasp of this, we are joined by Judith Kalonji, a North Carolina-based neuropathic practitioner. Judith, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, Judith, do you believe that the gut system is the root cause of depression?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Many studies and scientific papers has shown the relationship between gut health and brain functions. We have one hormone that is very important in the regulation of the mood, appetite, which is called serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps, it's our happy hormone, basically.
Judith, you also specialize in helping clients with diabetics and cancer. Do you think there is link between those diseases and depression? Maybe together with that, you can tell us what are the healthy foods that are that will help prevent depression?
Sure. Hippocrates is the founder of modern medicine has a saying of all diseases start in the guts. So that answers our question directly. What we find in the guts is a reflection of how we also feel, how we also interact with food. So I have a couple suggestions that I have handy, that I handed it to the production, as far as how to regulate our gut health, how to restore the guts lining in order to absorb better nutrient.
So, Judith, before you go and show us the food, the interesting food, I would like to go back to the root cause of depression for a nutritionist like you. I'm guessing it's not only the gut.
It's not it's the gut is the root causes. Why? Because serotonin is 90% of serotonin is actually synthesized in the gut. So if the gut is not healthy, is imbalanced, we're also going to have a decrease in the level of serotonin. And like I mentioned before, serotonin is our happy hormones.
Apart from serotonin, do we have something else?
I'm sorry?
On the list, apart from serotonin?
We also have dopamine when we practice physical activity. Dopamine is also one of them. Yes, dopamine.
So physical activity and good nutrition can help fight depression.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's awesome.
And then science have backed that. There's many studies up there. There's paper, published in relationship with gut health and brain, and so is other diseases such as diabetic, such as cancer, and so on.
I would agree with the scientists, even though I'm not a scientist. I know that when I eat ice cream, I'm feeling happy. And I know that when I leave the gym, I'm feeling happy. So I agree with the scientists. But let me shift the focus a little bit. In the religious communities, we're used to fasting, which I'm a part of. We're used to fasting, which helps clarity of the mind and focus on God and prayer. Can you tell us how eating less or abstaining from eating positively affect our well-being?
Oh, fasting is a great tool, actually, when fighting diseases, any diseases. We have now shifted fasting in a more fashionable way. We have now intermittent fasting. We have fasting for religion reasons. All of this helps in mental clarity. It also helps when the gut is in rest. It also helps repair damaged tissue. So when we're fasting, we're allowing our body to repair itself. That's why fasting is very important when we're fighting diseases in general.
So can we go back maybe to the question I asked a little bit earlier to what type of should we add in our diet so that or maybe should we remove from our diet so that we can take care of our mental health?
Sure. Well, when we're trying to bring balance into our gut, we need to first restore our gut health. And then in order to restore the gut health, we need to bring more of good bacteria, basically, because when we have an issue with our gut, we have an imbalance in the gut microbiota. That's one thing. We can also have the lining of the intestine that can be compromised. Part of it is when we have communication, when we have bacteria that is migrating into the bloodstream. Now we start experiencing inflammations. We start experiencing deficiencies in macronutrients.
So what are the foods? Can you tell us some of the foods? Because I want to go to the grocery stores after this.
There's so many food out there. It was really hard for me to put a list together. But my main focus was to bring more macronutrients that will help reduce inflammations and then also a better feeling. And so I had put a couple lists to help us. So one of my favorite one is the amaranth leaf. This is the one vegetable that we find in most part in the continents. Most countries have amaranth. Some cook it differently, but amaranth leaf is very, very interesting when we want to bring in macronutrient into the body.
Very good. I saw cashew as well on the list.
Cashew is very good. Cashew, we don't have to eat much. We can just have a little bit and then have enough of the fiber and minerals that we need.
I saw one of my favorites, sardines. each of us is speaking from the list.
Africans love sardines.
Oh, yes.
I guess I'll pick the moringa leaves, which I know is very healthy too. But how can we develop, how can we change our diet, and how can we train ourselves to, eat these diets consciously to protect our mental health?
Well, I try to teach my clients most of the time, educate them on how to consume those foods. Most of the time in our community, we tend to overcook food. When we overcook food, we are losing the nutrient that our body needs to be healthy. So I'm trying to educate them to maybe have just the last 10 minutes to use to cook the food so you don't lose all the nutrients. That's one thing. Also, be outside more often, be exposed to the sunlight. We have many studies that has linked vitamin D deficiencies into health, especially COVID patients and things like that. So being exposed to the sunlight, it's a great tool too to add some of the vitamin Ds.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Judith Kalonji. We would need 30 more minutes to talk with you about that. But thank you for your knowledge and sharing it with us. Judith Kalonji is a naturopathic practitioner and nutritionist, and she was live with us from Cary, North Carolina.
Yes, I mean, I wanted to just stay with them for a while because I want to know exactly what I need to do to stay happy, because there are some vitamins that actually help you stay happy.
But I learned something new today. I didn't know that our eating habit has something to do with depression.
Oh, yes, I do. I do know that, yes. Well, that's good. One good takeaway from that. And we would like to know what you took away from this show. We would like to thank also clinical psychologist Dr. Michelle Mathero Nkhalamba, who joined us earlier from Malawi. This has been Our Voices. Thank you for watching. And thanks to our formidable editorial and production team, you can rewatch this episode and the previous ones on the VOA website at voaafrica.com or on our YouTube channel. Let's continue the conversation on our social media platform, and let's meet again next week, same time, same team. Take care of yourself.